Hi there, I'm Janet Morgan. I'm a children's book author and illustrator and mom of 8. I love to get on here and I love to talk illustration, I love to talk children's books, and I love to do themed videos. Today's theme is going to be books that are written for children, but I think they're actually written more for the kids' grown-ups. So 2 apologies before I start. 1, I know my setup's a little weird. We are in the middle of kind of moving around our house and changing things up. So my normal spot that I film in is just topsy-turvy right now. And I kind of thought it might be fun to like sit here and just do a kind of informal chat. And I have my painted trees here that I painted myself. I thought, well, that's kind of fun. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get on with 3 books that I know are written for children, but I think are just as wonderful for adults. And the first one is going to be Frog and Toad. This is just one of the Frog and Toad books. There are multiple books and each one has multiple stories. You probably are familiar with them. They're very popular for a reason. And Frog and Toad is it's so good. It's very hard to get tired of reading Frog and Toad. They are a wonderfully hilarious little duo, and they're so hilarious because they don't know they are. I would say Frog and Toad really captures the deeper complexities for an adult reading the book of being human. Kids like it because Frog and Toad are funny. Toad is always getting into silly escapades, and Frog is always kind of helping him out of it or through it. I think for the adult reading it, it really shines a light on friendships, on self-confidence, self-perception, the little absurdities of our own self-aggrandization. Toad is the side of us who wants to take everything too seriously, and Frog is like the calming influence who reminds us of our own insignificance and the overall comfort of letting go. And I also think that Frog and Toad is sort of, it says Frog and Toad are friends is the name of one of them. This one is Days with Frog and Toad, but one of them is called Frog and Toad are Friends, and that's how they are portrayed. But really, I think that Frog is showing the ideal parent who sort of helps their child through the overwhelm of learning about life. And I think that's why Frog and Toad is so timeless. I thought a little bit deeper about some of the books this time around. I wrote some notes, so sorry if I kind of go into it deeper, but I do like to nerd out a little bit over these things. And I should probably say too, just as another note, all of this is my own opinions. These aren't like necessarily what the author intended. Maybe they did, but this is what I'm taking away from it. That's with like bigger books, not usually applied to children's books, that's called death of the author. It means that you are looking at the book and taking away what it means to you rather than what the authorial intent is. So moving on, and another series of books that I feel appeals to children but also just as much to their parents is Winnie the Pooh. And when I say Winnie the Pooh, I mean like the originals. There's quite a few of the original stories, and they have, of course, the beautiful illustrations. I probably should have shown more of the illustrations from Frog and Toad as well, but the original Winnie the Pooh illustrations are very charming. They're quite simplistic. You've probably seen them before. I feel like everybody has, but they're worth looking at again. Look at those trees. I really love that stand of trees. Anyway, I think Winnie the Pooh is so good because it captures that confident absurdity that children have. And it's so clever. Children feel like they're in on the joke because Christopher Robin is written just slightly more mature than the stuffed animal characters, than Pooh and Piglet and Rabbit and Tigger. So the child listening to the story feels in on the joke. Christopher Robin is able to look at his animals like a parent looks at the children, but Christopher Robin's still a child, so the parent listening in on the story, reading the story, it's the feeling you get when you sort of listen in on a room full of children and they're playing their games very seriously, and it's just so cute and wonderful. That is how Winnie the Pooh is written. So it's a treat for the parent listening or reading the story. I keep saying listening because there is a really wonderful audiobook version of Winnie the Pooh. I will try to link it in this video. It's really well done, and it's fun to listen to on car trips. We've done that quite a bit. Let's see what I wrote down in my notes. I really kind of tried to think a little bit more about this video. It says, I wrote down, Winnie the Pooh captures the view of the adult because it never seeks to over-explain the strange and simple viewpoints of the child. They don't think in a grown-up way, and the book refuses to rationalize that. That is something else I've noticed. The animals, the characters, Christopher Robin, they really do talk like children, and they have childlike reasons for what they do. The genius is in the way that Christopher Robin is written in a slightly more mature way, like I kind of mentioned before, effectively letting the young readers in on the joke, but not fully, because the parent who experiences the book with their little one gets to the double delight of seeing these characters hold their levels of maturity over each other as a sort of rank or as a social currency. And you'll see that in real children, how the older children tend to sort of like, oh, well, I know better than that now. And you definitely see that play between the characters in the Winnie the Pooh stories. Meanwhile, all the characters as a whole are a perfect caricature of the same sort of dynamic as any parent has seen time and time again at a playground or at a classroom or in a play date. So I feel like I wasn't super smooth, but hopefully you get what I'm saying. I think Winnie the Pooh is genius for that. And then the final series of books, again, are the original Little Critter books. And I say the original because some of the ones that were done later, like this is a later one, they just don't have the same charm. I feel like the artwork changed. I'm not sure if maybe Mercer, his style maybe changed over the years, or maybe even sometimes franchises are bought and they could just continue the art style of the originals, but it's not actually the artist. I'm not sure if that is the case with the Mercer books, but the original Little Critter books, like Just Me and My Dad, or Me Too, or this one's a bit scribbled on, I Was So Mad, are very charming. And here's what I wrote down as far as my thoughts on those and why I think they are so appealing to children and adults. And it says here, Little Critter lets parents sympathize with children in a way that is easy to lose in the daily grind, but without any guilt. It even lets the child sympathize with their parent in a way that is laced with humor, mostly visual. The drawings have a sharpness to the wit that is rare and actually fades in the later books, like I was mentioning. The later ones don't really have that. And what I mean is, in these books, sometimes you see the parents seem a little bit... Sorry, our puppy is barking. I think maybe my husband's coming home. Anyway, you sometimes see the parents look a little bit frazzled, a little bit worn, but they always come back with a lovingness, usually toward the end of the book. And Little Critter is always getting into trouble. He doesn't mean to. So it's this sort of like understanding. There's this understanding that goes both ways in Little Critter, where the child can see the parent's slight frustration tempered with warmth, and the parent gets to kind of chuckle alongside and say, oh yeah, I remember, I've seen that happen 1,000 times. I think it actually kind of brings parents and children together in a way that isn't usually in books. I think that that is the genius there. And then also, the art style is just wonderful. The details in the Little Critter books, while also having sort of a silliness to the pictures, is great. Like, do you see what I mean about the parents are tired but loving? I think that it's a great balance. Especially these older ones. I just love them. I love the old Mercer artwork. And I guess that's about all I have to say today. This video was both a little bit more thought out than some of my old ones, but I feel like maybe I'm not as good with the more planned ones as I am with ad-libbing along. Before I go, I'll go ahead and just give a quick shout out to my own work. These are my children's books, A Pumpkin for Grubbs and Hannah Lee and the League of Dreams, which is my newest one. I love being inspired by the older artists. I do watercolor and colored pencil, and you can find the links to my books in the descriptions below. Thanks for being here with me today, and please leave your thoughts in the comments below. What books do you think are just as good for the parents as they are for the kids? And I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.